High school sports, we've got it covered. Overtime starts now.
Hello and welcome to Overtime as we kick off a new season of high school football. I'm Scott Leber along with my new partner, Drew Collins.
It's great to be part of this, Scott. I've heard a lot of good things about high school football around in this area, and I've already seen some of it at the practices I've been to.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be in for an exciting season. In this show, we're going to look at what's in store this year in the NIC 10 Big Northern and Northwest Upstate Illini conferences. Tim Bailey is going to give us some of his thoughts on our NIC 10 teams. But let's start by refreshing your memory about last season in the NIC 10. It was the year of the Hononegah Indians, Drew.
The Indians went undefeated in the conference. That was the second time in 3 years they did that. Boylan finished second, losing only once to Hononegah. Belvedere North was third at 7-2. Harlem finished fourth, and Auburn was fifth. All those teams got to the playoffs. East was the best of the rest, finishing in sixth place at 4-5. The E-Rabs were followed by Guilford, Freeport, Belvedere, and Jefferson.
Hononegah has emerged in recent seasons as the premier program in the conference. The Indians won 4 of the last 7 conference championships. All 4 of those seasons, they went undefeated in conference play. They lost some key players from last year, like quarterback Cole Warren and slot back Isaiah Huey, and all 4 starters from an incredible defensive line. But the Indians still have a lot of tools in their toolbox, Drew.
They have first-team all-conference linebacker Kurt Smith back, along with the Benson brothers on the offensive line and Big Joe Groover on the line, too. Breaking a new quarterback this year, Dominic Kelly. He grew up in the Rockton-Roscoe area, but spent the past few seasons up in Lake Mills, Wisconsin. Kelly is back now, playing with the friends that he grew up with.
The big story at Boylan is the Titans no longer have Connor Dennis as their starting quarterback. What a job he did the last 3 years leading the offense. Now senior Owen Scandroli slides right in there. And the Titans returned some key players, none more valuable than two-way lineman Baron Scholl. He is a D1 guy going to Eastern Illinois. Now, every year it seems Belvedere North is knocking on the door of a NIC 10 championship, but the Blue Thunder keep coming up just short. The only time they won conference was back in 2014 when they tied Hononegah for the championship. They graduated playmaking running back Nico Bertolino, but they should not miss a beat at running back. Eric Roman, Trent Dinsmore, and Ben Booker will be a load for opposing defenses to stop. The key for North will be how well their linemen perform.
Speaking of running backs, we've got a pretty good one over at Harlem. Jamani Muhammad is back for his senior season with the Huskies. He rushed for nearly 1,300 yards last season. He needs a little over 700 yards to become the conference all-time leading rusher. The Huskies might also have another playmaker to go with him this season in junior running back Dwayne Broom. Nate Johnson returns at quarterback. He was looking great in practice when I saw him. The season also marks the return of Jim Morrow at Harlem as the Huskies head coach. Auburn also has a new head coach. He's Leroy McFadden. He was an assistant coach at Auburn last year. He played major college football at Michigan State back in the day under Nick Saban, but he still played a bit professionally. McFadden is focused on getting the guys disciplined on and off the field. He has some exciting players to work with, like linebacker Phil Horton and receiver Tazir Henderson. The Knights are coming off a playoff season.
Guilford took a step back last season, dipping from 7 wins to 3 wins. The Vikings played a lot of young guys, and that should pay off for them this season. Quarterback Grayson Weber was thrown into the fire last year as a freshman. He could become a major force this season. Weber is set up to succeed. He is surrounded by great talent on the lines and at the skill positions. The biggest threat for the Vikings is junior receiver Messiah Tilson. He finished 6th in the 100-meter dash at the AAU Nationals this summer in track and field. For the first time in 4 years, the East E-Rabs will not have Javius Catlin leading their ground game. What a high school career he had. Coach Gary Griffin says East, though, will continue to run the ball. Tyshawn Whitty has big-time speed. Chris Tolliver, an all-conference defensive back, could also be another big threat carrying the ball. Griffin's high on his linemen this year, but a lot of them are sophomores, so we'll see how quickly they develop. So what are we looking at in Freeport, Drew?
Pretzels are hoping to put together their first winning season since 2008. They've got the right guy at quarterback. Peyton Woker returns. He passed for nearly 1,500 yards last season. He has 2 tall, excellent receivers in Zach Matz and Jalen Campbell. And running back linebacker Cameron Verner should be one of the best all-around players in the conference. Just like Auburn and Harlem, Belvedere has a new head coach this season. Sean Donnelly takes over. He's been an assistant at Belvedere in recent years. He has his work cut out. The Bucks have only won 8 games over the last 8 years. Donnelly has convinced some more wrestlers to come out for the team. He's also focused on building up the lower levels of football at Belvedere. This will be a process to restore Buck pride, but Donnelly seems willing to see it through.
And Jefferson did not win a game last season, but you wouldn't know it. Enthusiasm has been high at the Jayhawks practices. Part of that comes from having quarterback Sebastian Bracious back. He missed all of last season recovering from an accident. He was terrific 2 years ago as a sophomore. Now the Jayhawks have some other talent to go with him, like all-conference edge rusher LaShawn Gathright. Second-year head coach Cody Kazaza has this program moving in the right direction. His numbers are good, and as I said, the attitude there is good. Well, there's just a little bit to get you fired up about the Nick 10. We're going to take it, though, to another level next, because Tim Bailey is in the house, and you know he has a lot on his mind about these teams in this season, so do not go away.
This wouldn't be overtime without Tim Bailey. He's back with us for year number 5 as our Nick 10 analyst.
Now, most of you know Tim, but for the few of you who don't, he's a former Nick 10 football star, former college football standout, and now he's the head guy at Mercy Health's Top Performers Sports Performance at SportsScore 2, where he has been training top athletes in the Rockford area for many years.
So, Tim, let's dive deep into this Nick 10 season. Hononegah will try to repeat as Nick 10 champion. As we pointed out earlier, the Indians have gone undefeated in conference play 4 times in the last 7 seasons. What are they doing right up there? Why have they had so much success?
Well, you got to tip your hat off to Coach Zimmerman and his staff, what they've been able to do to galvanize that program each and every year, get the boys excited for the next year up, and just really doing what they need to do during the offseason, and that's getting really bigger, faster, stronger. They have a great culture up there. I like what they do. They have a standard. They are the gold standard of the Nick 10.
And they never have a numbers issue up there, which always comes in handy. I think the other coaches around the conference are envious of the numbers they always have. Now, this conference lost some big stars from last year. I mean, Cole Warren and Isaiah Hui at Hononegah, Javius Catlin at East, he's graduated too, Nico Bertolino and Belvedere North, and also Connor Dennis at Boylan. So, Tim, which team is going to be impacted the most by losing 1 or 2 of those key players?
Well, it's really, all those teams are going to feel that impact, that void that they have to fill. But Hononegah is that team that just, you lost that bevy of playmakers, not just on offense, but you lost a bevy of playmakers on defense. Cole Warren, he goes off to college. You lose Huey, a playmaker on both sides of the ball. And then you lose Floriance, and then you lose Pilgrim as well on defense. So, you got a lot of missing pieces now. Now you have to just figure out, okay, how do we regroup?
Next question, which team in the conference has the most to prove this season? Obviously, everybody has something to prove, but is there a team that stands out from the others?
The most to prove, it's Guilford. It's time for Guilford to get into the top 3 of the mix of the Nick 10 conference. This is Cap's 3rd year. I mean, he's got a bevy of playmakers, both offensively and defensively. He's really going to have to bring his A game in coaching. They added some pieces on offense this year. They added some pieces on defense, and then they added another coach of Dan Apino, who's over there now. So if Dan Apino's over there, Guilford's going to be probably that one top 2-3 team in the conference that we're going to be talking about this fall for sure.
Got like an all-star coaching staff with the 2 Apinos and Danny Dinnick and more over there.
If you can get Dan Apino over there, you're doing something right.
Yeah, that's a good move. Okay, we covered earlier the 3 new head coaches in the conference in the previous segment. Jim Morrow back at Harlem, Sean Donnelly taking over Belvedere, and Leroy McFadden, the top guy at Auburn now. So which of those 3 men have the best chance to have success this season at their school?
I think they're all going to do some really good things, but to answer your question, I think it's going to be Coach Leroy McFadden. What he's been able to do this summer with the kids has just been nothing short of phenomenal. He's a true leader. He understands what the game is about. He's a mentor. He's a coach. He understands what these kids need. You ran a clip, last week, and he talked about discipline is going to be the priority over there at Auburn. And I believe he's going to really do that. I think he's going to be able to help restore that program and really do some good things.
And he's a big man, so if you're a player on that team, you listen to what Coach McFadden tells you to do.
You got to listen to McFadden. You got to listen to Coach Leroy.
Interesting stuff there. Now, we are not done with you, Tim, because we're going to bring you back in just a bit to get your top players to watch in the conference and your pick for the conference champions. So that's coming up in a bit. But up next, we're going to look ahead to the football season in the Big Northern Conference and the NUIC.
As we head to the break now, there's a look at the opening night matchups in the Nick 10 next weekend.
Well, let's focus on the Big Northern Conference now, and we have to start with the Byron Tigers. The last 6 years, their resume has been unbelievable.
They've won 2 state championships, they've been to the state finals 2 other times, and they reached the semifinals 2 other times. Last year, they went 14-0 and put together one of the most dominant seasons in Illinois high school history. They set state records for points scored and for touchdowns scored. They destroyed Mount Carmel 69-7 in the 3A state championship game. But the scary thing is, Scott, the Tigers might just be even better or just as good this year.
I don't know how you stop that offense when you got Caden Considine's power and speed at fullback, Brayton Knowles' blazing speed at wingback, and ultra-quick and elusive sophomore Andrew Talbert at quarterback. And then they have at least a couple all-state caliber offensive linemen blocking for them.
It's business as usual, and these kids are kind of aware of how the program works, and they're bought in and worked hard all summer long. I don't think the expectations really change a whole lot here from year to year. Our kids have very lofty goals, and they should.
Dixon finished second in the Big Northern last season. Duke's only conference loss was to Byron. They've lost one Shaner. Quarterback Tyler Shaner is gone. The head coach Jared Shaner is plugging in another Shaner at quarterback. Cullen moves into the spot. He played receiver last year. All-conference linebacker Eli Davidson will lead that defense.
North Boone is also breaking in a new quarterback. Senior R.J. Wolski takes over, and he has 2 great targets to throw to in the Viking spread offense. 6'4" Brad Dahl and Azriel Dixon, both are juniors. All-conference player Patrick McCarty is back to lead the lines, and sophomore Connor Chamberlain will be one of the key newcomers at running back and linebacker. North Boone finished 3rd in the conference last season.
Stillman Valley won 6 games and made the playoffs last year. They have Ryan Roof returning at quarterback. Brock Needs and Jackson Barrett will be key players for the Cardinals at both fullback and inside linebacker. Michael Orlando will be another big part of that team at halfback and also on defense. The Cardinals only have 4 starters returning. They need their new guys to come along quickly, especially with a tough opening game at Dixon.
The Lutheran Crusaders have made the playoffs the last 2 seasons. The Crusaders graduated only 4 seniors. They'll have a very athletic team again at the skill positions, led by running back Gavin Sanders, receiver Jack Bamer, and then the Ballard brothers, David and Daniel, at slot back and quarterback. Key once again for the Satyrs will be how well they hold up on the lines. They have added a couple transfer students there. That should help. Some new assistant coaches have revamped the Crusaders' offense and defense, and we'll see next Friday what those changes are.
Another Big Northern team that could be for an exciting season is Oregon. The Hawks have a big and talented senior class by Josh Crandall. He'll be a standout at tight end and defensive end again. Jack Washburn is back for his 3rd season at the starting quarterback. Logan Weems is back at the running back. He was one of the top conference rushers last year with more than 1,200 yards. And leading the line will be 285-pound Briggs Sellers. The Hawks got a taste of the playoffs last year, and they want more.
I think that just makes us more hungry. We're just ready. We're ready to go deeper.
They're a group that wants to compete all the time. So that started, kind of once the season got over in the weight room and just kind of carried all the way out.
Winnebago, Genoa Kingston, and Rock Falls will try to rebuild after down seasons last year. Rockford Christian is no longer competing in the Big Northern in football.
Here are the opening night matchups in the Big Northern Conference next week. Byron plays at Rock Falls, Stillman Valley at Dixon, Oregon at North Boone, and Lutheran at Winnebago. Genoa Kingston will host Chicago Leo in a non-conference game.
Well, the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference is the small school conference in Illinois football.
And now it's even stronger. Morrison has replaced West Carroll. The Mustangs won 9 games last season and they made the playoffs. Lena Winslow will open the season at Morrison.
Here's Lee Wynn's Rick Aaron on how Morrison will impact the conference.
From my standpoint, I think differently than some people, but it's a great addition to our conference. It takes that upper level of teams and really pushes it up a notch. If you're somebody that has struggled, to make the playoffs or borderline playoff team, you probably really don't want to see them in there. But I think it's a great addition to our conference.
Morrison has the standout QB back in Colton Bielema and a great running back in junior Brady Anderson and a whole lot of speed.
As for the Panthers, they're coming off a state runner-up finish in Class 1A. They graduated Gage Dunker, but Corbin Lynch is back. He rushed for well over 1,000 yards last year. Junior fullback Aiden Wild is big. He'll get those tough yards between the tackles that Dunker got. Luke Kimple and Gannon Dunker lead the lines. Jalen Werkowska is a heck of an athlete, and he should shine at running back and safety.
The Dupac Rivermen are expecting big things again this season. They have one of the premier quarterbacks in the state, Cooper Hoffman, back for his third year at the controls. He accounted for 38 total touchdowns last year, passing and running. Jackson Diedrich returns as his leading receiver. Jordan Gassman, Brody Black, and Ethan Rager will also be key targets. Second-team All-Conference linebacker Justin Anderson will be one of the leaders on the defense.
The Forreston Cardinals are always a force in the conference. They won eight games last year before losing to Lena Winslow in the second round of the playoffs. The Cardinals are young this year. They lost their top 3 rushers and 3 offensive linemen who earned all-conference honors. But they have several running backs ready to step in, including Dane Setterstorm and Evan Bettner. And they have some good size on the lines with Alex Schohoven and Jacob Jacobler.
Keep your eye on Eastland Pearl City this year. The Wildcats impressed me at their midnight practice last weekend. They've got size and they were physical. You can see them getting better the last couple of years. They just didn't have a lot of wins to show for it. This might be a breakthrough season for them. The Wildcats have almost everyone back. EPC will be led by quarterback Jackson Corbin, running back Draven Zier, and linebacker Will Burchin.
Dakota enters year 2 under head coach Eric Diddish, the former offensive lineman at NIU. The Indians won 3 games last year, but they've had some close losses to Forreston and Stockton that could have gotten them in the playoffs if those are wins. The Indians have some exciting players back, including the Gordons Jaden and Benny. Drake Davis is back at quarterback, so is Brody Good. Avery Bowers and Randy McPeak will be 2 of their key guys on the line.
Sean Downey is entering his second season at Stockton. He had that program showing improvement last year. The Blackhawks won 4 games, and they were physical. They'll have 7 returning starters on both sides of the ball. Mark Detweiler, Eli Larson, and Jeremiah Luke will be some of their key players. So here are the Week 1 matchups in the NUIC. Forreston at Fulton, EPC at Galena, Lena Winslow at Morrison, Dupac at Stockton, Dakota at Dwight Gardner. That game will be played on Saturday. All right, Tim Bailey's going to rejoin us next for our Nick 10 picks for this season. Tim joins us once again as we turn our focus back to the Nick 10.
Give us your 5 top performers for the season in the conference, 5 playmakers to watch. They can be offensive or defensive playmakers.
This will be good. This will be good. This was tough for me. You know that, right? Okay. My top 5, Jamani Muhammad, Harlem. He's going to give you something this year. This young man's put on 20 pounds of muscle, okay? And, he trained over at the MTP camp this year, put some really good work in. He's going to really be that game changer that we're going to see in the conference this year, and he's going to go on and do some big things in college as well. DT Barron Scholl, Boylan High School, another kid who worked in our camp, the MTP camp, for the last 6 months, and the size and the strength and the power that he's improved is really going to manifest on the field. I'm really happy to see him go on and work with accept a scholarship to Eastern Illinois. He's going to do some big things at the collegiate level as well. Wide receiver Messiah Tilson, Guilford. I mean, what can you say about this kid? Number 6 in AAU. Your young man runs a 10.600, 4.440. I mean, he's going to be that kid that you're going to see on the field. You're going to stand up. Every time he gets the ball, the stands are just going to go crazy. This kid's going to be a game changer. He's going to be a playmaker as he already is. He's going to be really good. Quarterback Owen Scandroli. Owen's just going to really be that facilitator. He's going to be that, not quarterback for Boylan, but he's going to be that point guard, so to speak, for Boylan. He's going to facilitate that offense and get those Titan points up on the board. Last but not least, my wide receiver, Cole Small. He's just a game changer. He belonged in this list. He really did some good things last year on the gridiron, going up for big catches. He was a key part in that Hononegah success offensively last year.
Scott, give us some more top players to look for this season.
All right, let's get right into these. We've got Eric Roman of Belvedere North, Ben Booker of Belvedere North, James Benson, a beast on the lines for Guilford, Jacob Benson, a beast for Hononegah on the lines, and LaShawn Gathright of Jefferson coming off that edge, especially on defense. He is so quick.
All right, guys, the time has arrived to announce your picks to win the Nick 10 championship. Tim, let's hear it.
Oh, this was another tough one. Oh, man, you guys have put me on the spot tonight. All right, let's go. Number 1, Boylan Titans. What can you say? They returned a lot of key starters. They have a bevy of playmakers that they lost last year, but they also, they kind of reload, they replenish. They have more bevy of playmakers that'll step up this year and really do some things well for the Titans. Number 2, Hononegah. Again, they lost a lot of guys, but again, they're reloading as well. These teams right here, those top 2 teams, they should be in the top 2 this year when it's all said and done. Belvedere North, they lost some key key guys this past year in Bertolino and Brown, and lost some other key players in some other positions. But I think Belvedere North's going to be that number 3 team that we'll be talking about in the next 8 or 9 weeks. Number 4, Guilford. Guilford's going to be a much more improved team this year. They got a bevy of playmakers on both sides of the ball, well coached. That's going to be definitely a team that we're going to be talking about at the end of the season. Harlem, number 5. You got Moore back over there. I think he's going to really galvanize, his guys this year, and they should finish number 5 this year. So that's my top 5.
All right, I'm stirring the pot a little. I'm going with the Guilford Vikings, followed by Belvedere North, Hononegah, Boylan, and Harlem. Hey, folks, if you want more from Tim on local football, check out the Bailey Pod. It's back. You can find it on YouTube. A new one comes out each Wednesday night this season at 8 o'clock.
All right, guys, Tim, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it.
Drew and I are going to be right back.
Folks, this is only the first of 12 overtime shows coming your way every Friday night on Fox 39.
Now, some are going to start at this time, 11 p.m. Some, though, will start a bit earlier or a bit later after college football ends on Fox. Fox is going to be showing a lot of Big Ten games now on Fridays. Those start in a couple weeks. So when you get home from your high school games on Fridays, put on Fox 39 to watch the end of a great college game. And then as soon as that ends, we're going to come on.
But next, we will be here at 11 o'clock, and we'll have those opening night highlights for you.
Yep, that's next week, so we will see you then at 11. Until then, have a good night and a great weekend.